Ooh, wow. Oh, it does has beautiful pigment. Is the new e.l.f. Camo Liquid Blush a dupe for the iconic Rare Beauty Soft Pinch Liquid Blush? Let's review it together and see how close the formulas, the colors are. I picked up 4 shades of the new e.l.f. Camo Liquid Blushes. These each retail for $7 US. You get 0.13 fluid ounces versus Rare Beauty, you get 0.25 fluid ounces and it retails for $22 US. I'm going to swatch them on the back of my hand and then swatch them on the cheeks 1-to-1. So right side is going to be Rare Beauty, left side is going to be e.l.f. Let's start first with Rare Beauty in shade Bliss. And these swatch really nice. You have the big doe-foot applicator. I believe this one dries down matte, so that's another thing with Rare Beauty soft pinch blushes. You can choose matte or dewy. And not all the colors come in both finishes. So there's 2 shades that might be dupes for Bliss from Rare Beauty. So e.l.f. starting first with Dusty Rose or Dusty Rosé. Also has the big doe-foot applicator, pretty close. So there's one more shade. It is the Peach Perfect. This one, if you mix both of them together, I was looking, you might get the perfect shade for Bliss. It's just a little bit lighter. Like if you mix these 2 together from e.l.f., you'll get like a perfect shade for Bliss. For application for Rare Beauty, I personally like to apply it with her soft pinch brush. It's one of my favorites for a liquid or a cream blush formula. You can go 1 or 2 drops. For this color, I usually take 2 drops, but always clean the doe-foot applicator to get a lot of that blush off. And then without waiting, just go right in and start blending. I find that with the matte formula, it's not my favorite blush from Rare Beauty because they dry down so fast and they can look a little patchy on the cheeks, especially if you take it onto your cheeks right away. But if you blend them in right away, they're pretty easy to work with. I'm just gonna go with my foundation brush that I used without anything and just soften the edges. On the left side, e.l.f. in shade Dusty Rosé. These also look pretty pigmented, and these are going to dry down dewy, or not even dry down. Let's start with 2. I'm gonna take a similar brush. This one is from Rose Ink. Ooh, wow. Oh, it does has beautiful pigment. Okay, pretty easy to blend, but I didn't really wait. Okay, that was just 2 dots. Okay, that's pretty easy to work with. Again, different finishes. We have matte for Rare and dewy for e.l.f. So still keeping Rare Beauty in shade Bliss on the right side, and I want to swatch Peach Perfect on the e.l.f. side, which is this one right here. It's a lighter peachy shade. And this one I'm gonna give it like maybe 15 to 20 seconds to set and see if we can move it around. Let's do 3 dots of this one right away. Okay. I'm gonna use the same. Just gonna clean it off quickly. Yeah, I feel like you can see it. No, there's a good amount of time. Oh yeah, this one I would say is pretty, it's not sheer, but it's not as much color payoff. Almost like a highlighter. It's a lot more subtle than the Dusty Rosé. So I'm just gonna add 1 more dot. All right, we added 3 already. So let's add a 4th. Let's go 1 more. This is pretty sheer in color payoff. The swatches online for this shade, they also look a little more highlight versus a blush. Like really pretty. I mean, yeah, that's very subtle. There's still, like my cheek is popping, but it looks more so like I have a highlighter on my cheek, which I'm not mad. That's really pretty. Peach Perfect by e.l.f. Subtle, but adds a nice, beautiful punch to your cheeks. Again, Rare Beauty in shade Bliss versus Peach Perfect. Now I'm going to mix in just, out of curiosity, because I said if I mix the 2, it might get the perfect Bliss, but in just a dewy version. I'm going to mix Dusty Rosé. They blend really, really nice. Wow. I am slightly obsessed with the Camo Blushes by e.l.f. Oh my goodness. And yeah, that's a almost perfect shade. When mixed Peach Perfect with Dusty Rosé. Let's swatch the next shade. So from e.l.f, I picked up shade Pinky Promise, and this is a cool pink. They also have more of like a poppy pink color, but I don't have it. They didn't have it in my store in Target. So I picked up this one, and it might be a close enough color dupe for Rare Beauty in shade Happy. The Happy color is a dewy finish, not a matte. So we'll see what they look like. So this right here is Rare Beauty in Happy. Just, they swatch so beautiful. And then we have e.l.f. in Pinky Promise. They're close, but not identical. Rare Beauty on the right side in shade Happy. This is one of my favorite shades from Rare Beauty if I want a pop of pink, but not extremely cool toned. It's a gorgeous neutral pink. And it's radiant, but it doesn't exaggerate the texture as much as you would think. Beautiful. Let's go with e.l.f. in Pinky Promise. Yeah, this one is a little, actually. Having a little bit of an easier time with Rare Beauty blending, but you can see it's blending really nice. I'm just taking a little bit more time, but this is a smaller brush in comparison to Rare Beauty. Let's add a little bit more to Rare Beauty, just the tiniest amount. Bam. If you haven't tried the Rare Beauty Soft Pinch Blush Brush, incredible, worth the money. Like I said, it works with most every liquid formula and cream formula blushes that I've tried. It's a beautiful brush to work with. Rare Beauty in shade Happy, e.l.f. in shade Pinky Promise. And both have dewy finishes. So when I'm swatching and I blend out in the back of my hand, even on the cheeks, with the Rare Beauty, why they're so long lasting, even with the dewy finishes for the blushes, when they blend out and they set, they kind of have a powdery feel to them from my experience. With the e.l.f, I'm noticing when I blend them out and on my cheeks and the back of my hand, it has almost a gel feeling at the very end. It doesn't have a powdery feeling. It's almost balmy as well. So I'm thinking, I'm not sure how long these are going to last. But of course, we're gonna do the wear test and see if there's a difference in longevity from Rare Beauty to e.l.f. Let's swatch the next shade. So let's see if this color from e.l.f. is a dupe for the Rare Beauty. Again, I don't have all the e.l.f. colors and I don't have all of the Rare Beauty colors for the blushes. This is just what I have in my collection, and this is what my Target had for the e.l.f. They didn't have all the colors as well, so I just picked up what they had in my local Target. So e.l.f. in shade Coral Crush, and then I have Rare Beauty in shade Joy. So both have that corally peachy color. Let's swatch them on the back of my hand. And this one I believe is also a dewy finish for Rare Beauty. From what I'm noticing right now with these colors that I have, Rare Beauty versus e.l.f. Rare Beauty, it's a little more muted. It's softer. And then e.l.f. has a little bit more of a pop in that color family. And then e.l.f. is Coral Crush. So we have Joy and Coral Crush. A little deeper, but we'll see what it looks like swatched. We'll see what it looks like blended. See what I mean about this brush, you guys? The Rare Beauty. Chef's kiss. Now let's take Coral Crush. I don't know if that's too much or too little. Oh yeah, these are different. They're not dupes for each other. Coral Crush, it's very vibrant. Close enough, but no, very different. You can see it right away how different they are. So these are the only colors that each brand offers that lean towards the coral peachy side in shade Joy, which is from Rare Beauty. It's a muted peach. And then e.l.f. Coral Crush, which is a coral peach shade. So Coral Crush, it's a little more poppy, it's a little more vibrant, versus Rare Beauty Joy, it's muted peachy shade. But close enough in my opinion, not exactly identical. These are almost identical when swatched and blended out. They look so identical, Rare Beauty and e.l.f. And then the other two, Rare Beauty in shade Bliss and e.l.f. in Dusty Rosé. The only difference is Rare Beauty is a matte finish versus e.l.f. is a dewy finish. So I think if you like the shade Bliss in Rare Beauty, but you want a dewy finish, e.l.f. is a great option. So overall, when swatching and on the back of the hand and swatching on the cheeks, the e.l.f. Camo blushes are very comparable in terms of texture, application, and so forth to the Rare Beauty soft pinch blushes. The soft pinch blushes in the dewy version are a little bit more blendable than the e.l.f. I think it just comes down to the formula. The e.l.f., it's a little bit more balmy as a texture and finish. Like I'm touching right now, my cheeks feel a little more balmy versus the Rare Beauty. It's a little bit of a powdery texture at the end. When swatching the e.l.f. Camo blushes, they remind me of the Juvia's Place liquid blushes. It's also a great dupe for the Rare Beauty. But when you swatch them, they have that creamy, balmy texture, and they're not as lightweight or featherweight when swatched in comparison to Rare Beauty. But both are pretty pigmented. Again, Juvia's Place is a massive doe foot applicator. These shades are actually pretty close. Look at that. This is Juvia's Place in Peach Rose. And then this is Pinky Promise in e.l.f. And Juvia's Place offers 12 colors versus as of right now, e.l.f. offers 8. Yeah, they swatch so similar. Ooh, Juvia's Place looks a little more pigmented with this color. Just wanted to mention that out there, that Juvia's Place also offers a liquid blush that's similar, close enough to Rare Beauty. The next part of the review for the Camo blushes by e.l.f., the wear test. How they wear, how they compare to Rare Beauty. So e.l.f. again, left side versus Rare Beauty on the right side. We are 3 hours in to the wear test of the review for the e.l.f. Camo Liquid Blushes. So we have, again, left side e.l.f. versus Rare Beauty on the right side. I'm not really seeing any difference as of right now. They're both wearing relatively similar. I'm still looking a lot more dewy and glowy on the e.l.f. side, and then Rare Beauty, it's softer but still radiant. There's still a little more tackiness on the e.l.f. side versus Rare Beauty. It's softer and it's not tacky, but we're not losing any pigment and it's really good so far. 6 hours in and blush is still blushing. Rare Beauty is just there. Again, that featherweight formula, when it blends and it sets kind of like a velvety powder blush, even though it still has that glow. The e.l.f. has that balmy, a little bit of that tackiness. So I'm thinking if you're very oily and you're kind of like touching your face, the colors might start fading, the blushes. But on my skin right now, I think it's still looking beautiful. e.l.f. and Rare Beauty. That blush is just, it's doing its thing. It's blushing. Again, I'm kind of seeing something right here. I'm not sure. Kids, they've been touching my face today, so I'm not sure what that is. But I don't know if you guys see that. It's like I don't know what that is, the line. Not sure. I'll see you guys in a little bit for the last part of the review for the e.l.f. Camo Liquid Blushes. Alrighty, the end of the review for the e.l.f. Camo Liquid Blushes is here. From this wear test 1-to-1 Rare Beauty versus e.l.f. Rare Beauty has better longevity with their soft pitch blush in comparison to the e.l.f. new Camo Liquid Blushes. And I think that's thanks to the featherweight formula from Rare Beauty. The way the blush swatches and blends out is swatches into this soft, matte, almost powdery texture and feeling versus e.l.f. It's more creamy and balmy. And you can even see it on the cheeks, and I can even feel it and touch it. And I think that's why there's a little bit of movement from the e.l.f. side. It doesn't set down entirely like the Rare Beauty side does, even with the dewy, like the radiant versions. Like I said, Rare Beauty has 2 versions, finishes. They have a matte and a dewy. or radiant finish. And even the radiant finish, I find that when swatched and really blended on the cheeks or even the back of the hand, it does have that soft powdery texture and feeling, which I like. Kind of gives me that assurance that it's not gonna go anywhere, which from my experience, the Rare Beauty blushes, they're budge proof and they don't go anywhere. But I'm gonna end it here. I'm gonna have a lot more information on the website, milabubeautyreview.com, with comparable blushes, different swatches, and so forth. I hope you guys check it out. Thank you for watching, spending time with me, and I'll see you in the next one very soon.